like different regions, but it's fun. We work with what we got. So anyway, um, how about you go ahead and tell me some things that you would like to work on, or any issues that you've been having lately with your gameplay. Okay. Okay. All right. So, um, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fight you a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and see what you're doing, and then I'll give you, advice and feedback based on that fight. How does that sound? Okay. Go ahead. Press F10. Yep. And would you be okay if I recorded the session? Okay, thanks. All right, let's go. So I think one of the biggest problems I see right now, from your gameplay, is that you're not really countering much. You're kind of just holding block, uh, while coming at me, and then we both just kind of hit block, hit block, hit block, and that's all. But if you're going to want to conserve your stamina, I think countering is a pretty necessary skill. Do you know how to counter? No, it's a little bit different. So a riposte is where you block and then attack immediately after. Um, but a counter requires you to match up the enemy's attack with your own, right before the attack hits you. And so I would like you to try the info right now. I would like you to try and do a block and then attack. Not at me, but just at the air. So, yeah, yeah, you know. So you see it says counter on your screen in the middle. That's the input that you do for a counter. And you can also see some yellow lines appear on your crosshair. That's your counter window. As long as those yellow lines, yeah. The shield, it shows how much stamina you have, and the yellow lines show your counter window. What needs to happen is the enemy's attack needs to hit your block hitbox or the front of your character when that yellow line is visible, or those yellow lines. And so I'm going to throw a slash at you, and I would like you to try and do a counter, and counter my slash. Ready? All right. So there, that was a riposte, and the riposte happens when you block the attack and then attack afterwards, immediately after. What you need to do is you need to counter before the attack hits you. Ready? It's okay. A little bit earlier. A lot earlier. That's okay. We'll just keep doing it until you get it. Earlier again. Even earlier. Yep. No, way too late. At the moment, you're pressing the button too late. Ready? It's okay. That's all right. We'll get the timing down eventually. Ready? Earlier. earlier. That's okay. That's okay. We just keep trying until we get it. That's how this works.
That one hurt.
And we just don't get to stop until we do it. So it'll happen. It'll happen eventually. Don't worry. Have you ever played like a Dark Souls type game? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever tried to parry in Elden Ring? Okay. Well, it's not too dissimilar to the roll. But you know how in Elden Ring you have to roll before the attack hits you, right? This is similar. You need to counter before the weapon hits you. But right before. Not too early, because then the attack will hit you. You understand? Okay, cool. Ready? There you go. And so you should see on your screen it said counter success in the middle of your screen. Yeah. So that's how you do a counter. And we're going to go ahead and keep doing this until you can get this down consistently. Yep. I know. Ready? Oh, okay. Easy.
3 more kills, and the leader is victorious!
You can see how you have to kind of activate it before my weapon hits you, and then have it, you know, kind of hit you in the counter window. Does that make any sense? Earlier. Good. Good. All right. So do you think you can consistently do this now? I guess so. Well, at least I think you understand it. Okay. Well, the benefit for this is really good because countering it negates stamina drain. So what this means is normally when you block an attack, you lose stamina proportional to the amount of damage that the weapon does. It's about 30% of the weapon's base damage, plus stamina damage bonuses depending on the weapon type. And so you'll see here, you can go and block my attack, right? Just normal block. If you block my attack, you'll see that you lose stamina damage based on what weapon you I'm going to go ahead and slash you a few more times, and I want you to counter it, and then we'll move on to different attacks, okay? Yes. Ready? All right. I think you got that down pat. And now we're going to do different types of attacks. So I'm going to do an overhead, and to counter my overhead, you're going to have to do a counter overhead instead of a counter slash. Make sure it actually says counter on your screen though when you're doing it. If it doesn't say counter, then you're not countering. Because I think right now you're just doing an overhead. Normal attacks do not counter. So if you just attack and it doesn't say counter, you're not countering. You need to actually press the block button and then do the attack to activate the counter. Got it? Ready? Yep. Okay, that worked. A little bit earlier. Good. Well, you're feinting it to a stab after the overhead. That's okay. You still landed the counter a little bit earlier. Good. All right, good. And now I'm going to stab you. There you go. Again. There you go. And again. Great. And so now I think you have a decent understanding of how counters work. It is tricky, and it's going to change depending on the situation and also where the weapon is relative to you. Stamina damage that you do is proportional to the weapon that you're using. So go ahead and put your shield on your back for a moment. Yeah. Yes. And so now I'm going to attack you, and I want you to block. And you're just going to see the difference in stamina damage. Okay? So block this attack and see how much damage it does. So how much stamina damage you lose. Ready? And so look at your stamina bar, right? That gives you an indication. Okay, this does that much stamina damage. And now let's look at how much stamina damage the knife does. Ready? And so you can see that this weapon is harder to counter. It is more difficult to counter. But it is also a lot less stamina that you take from blocking it. So basically, the moral of the story is that it's easier to counter slower weapons, but they do more stamina damage, so you need to counter them more often. Does that make sense? Let me go ahead and give you an example, right? Depending on where the attack is relative to you, it can actually make your countering more difficult. So for example, if I attack you from here, right, you can see the weapon comes from my right side and goes to my left. So it will take a long time to hit you, like this. And then if I'm right here, the weapon is coming from my right side, so it will hit you very quickly, like this. So you can see the drastic difference in timing there, right? Unlike any other game that you might have played, this game doesn't have any like lock-on mechanics, so the timing is all natural, you know? The weapon and where it... Yeah. In any other game that you would play, right? Any RPG or even like Elden Ring, you lock on, right? And so the weapon always is going to have the same timings because where the attack is coming from is always the same, and it's always the same speed every time, you know? Even if it is tricky. But in this game, the timing is based on where the weapon is realistically. Just imagine the weapon is real. And so where its position is on the screen is where it is. So it will either take a very long time to reach you or a very short time. There you go. So, I'm saying a lot of different things, and that's getting pretty complex, but at least you understand the basics of countering now, and you can start to apply it in your gameplay. All you have to do is just block, and then attack, and then when it says counter, hopefully you counter their attack, and you'll have to get the timing down for different weapons, and depending on where their weapon is, but I do believe that if you do it more in your lobbies, that you will get better at it over time. It will be a steep learning curve, though, so prepare to die a lot. So go ahead and stop moving for a moment, right? You can see in this wind-up phase, this weapon literally touches you, but it doesn't do anything, right? That's because it's in the wind-up phase. It can't hurt you. And then in the release phase, it can hurt you. You know, in the release phase is when it's actually swinging, and then it can connect with people. In the release phase of the attack, it cannot be changed. It has to continue swinging. So basically, there's a portion of their attack where it's like it cannot be changed, and it's guaranteed to continue in the motion that it's going. That is when you can reliably counter. So you have, wind up, release, wind up, release, wind up, release. And obviously the wind up is where he's literally pulling the weapon back and getting ready to swing, and then the release is when he starts swinging. And you can even see it begin, right? The wind up obviously where I'm not hurting you, and then the release where I'm hurting you. In the wind up, I can feint it to another attack, or I can cancel it. And then in the release, I can't do anything. I have to just continue swinging. Do you have any other questions? Yeah, you can kill me now.
No way. Not happening.
All right. It's been a pleasure, Crystal. Thank you very much for your time.